All right, let's get right into it. You know, one of the questions we see pop up all the time from both players and dungeon masters is about starting gold. How do you make it fair? How do you make it feel right for a specific character?
And that's really the heart of it, isn't it? How do we make this whole thing feel fair without accidentally punishing the player who wants to be a penniless urchin or a hermit who's left society behind? Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down here. Because look, this isn't just about money. It's about building believable characters right from session one. The whole problem is finding that sweet spot between mechanical fairness and, just good storytelling. So we're going to give you a super simple tool that does exactly that. It's a 3-tier chart you can literally use in any campaign you're running.
And here it is. Visually, it all boils down to this incredibly simple tiered chart. This is the engine of the whole system we're about to walk through, and it's so easy to use you could have it up and running at your table tonight. Seriously.
But first, we need to get one thing crystal clear. The gold we're talking about here, it's spending cash. Think of it as pocket money. This is the coin your character has on them for immediate use at the start of the adventure. It is absolutely not their entire life savings, and it's totally separate from their starting gear. So what I love about this is how it breaks everything down into 3 basic lifestyles. First up, you've got Tier 1, Struggling. These are your characters who are basically living hand-to-mouth. Then there's Tier 2, Stable. This is kind of your default for most adventurers. They can pay their bills. And finally, Tier 3, Privileged. These are the folks who start out with a nice cushion, maybe some status, and definitely some resources. Let's zoom in on that Struggling tier. We're talking 0 to 15 gold pieces. This is perfect for your Urchin, your Hermit, your Outlander, but here's the key thing to remember. This doesn't mean they're weak or incompetent. It just means their daily life is defined by a lack of security. They worry about where their next meal is coming from. Okay, next up is the Stable tier, running from 15 to 75 gold. This is the sweet spot where most adventurers are probably going to land. We're talking soldiers, artisans, sailors, you name it. They can afford the basics, buy a round at the tavern, and they aren't constantly worried about going broke. This is your baseline for a competent adventurer who's ready to go. And finally, we get to the Privileged tier, clocking in at a hefty 75 to 250 gold pieces. This is your noble, your trust fund wizard, your merchant with deep pockets. These characters are starting the game with a serious financial safety net, but as we're about to see, that doesn't mean their life is any easier.
So we have these tiers, right? But how does it all come together to be fair and actually drive the story forward? Well, that brings us to the single most important piece of this puzzle, the fairness rule. Because here is the absolute biggest mistake you can make. You treat low starting gold like it's a punishment. You look at the player with the urchin and say, sorry, you have nothing. Can't buy a rope, can't buy rations, good luck. That's not gritty realism, that's just not fun. It keeps them from playing the game. Starting gold should affect their choices, not their ability to participate. So here it is, the fairness rule. It's a beautiful, simple balancing act. If your character has low starting gold, you get narrative advantages. We're going to call that leverage. And if your character has high starting gold, you get narrative disadvantages. And we'll call that pressure.
This slide just lays it out perfectly. It's a 2-sided coin. On one side, not having money is balanced out by having a different kind of power. And on the other, having a ton of money is balanced out by having a different kind of problem. This is how you make every single choice meaningful. So, what does this narrative leverage actually look like in the game? Well, if you're in that struggling tier, you get something else. Maybe you have a key contact in the Thieves Guild. Maybe the blacksmith owes you a big favor. Maybe you know the location of a secret safe house no one else does. An urchin with only 5 gold pieces, but who knows exactly who to talk to and where to hide, that's real power.
And on the flip side, what about that narrative pressure? If you're starting in the privileged tier, that money has to come with strings attached. You might have suffocating family expectations, or rivals who are actively trying to sabotage you. Maybe your wealth brings a lot of unwanted attention. A noble with 200 gold is great, but not when every move they make is being watched and judged. That's a cost.
And this is how gold stops being just a number on your character sheet and becomes a vital part of their story. Let's just run through a couple of quick examples to see how it all clicks together.
Just look at how these character concepts instantly pop. The urchin, poor in coin but rich in street smarts and contacts. The soldier, they're stable and their real wealth is their reputation and the favors they can call in from their old squad. And the noble, they're dripping with gold, but that status comes with heavy obligations and enemies. Players hear these options, and they get who their character is before a single die's roll.
So here's the big takeaway. Gold isn't just for buying rations and rope. It's a snapshot of your character's place in the world, their past, their struggles, their future challenges. When you balance that low gold with narrative leverage and high gold with narrative pressure, everyone at the table gets a richer story. It completely changes the question of character creation. It's no longer how much gold do you have, it's what did it cost you to get it.